The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Let me know if you can see and if you can hear me right now in the question area. Yes, we can hear you. Can't see. All right, so you can't see anything on my screen. Let's change that. Let's start showing the screen. Voila. Can you see and hear me? Thumbs up, thumbs down. What's going on? Yes, thumbs up. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Got a new little setup that we got going on here today with my little photo booth app here, so you can see me. My trusty little whiteboard that I like to use on my iPad to say hello and draw smiley faces for everybody. Let's dig in. Would love just to know, show of hands or yeses, yays, nays, what's going on. If you've jumped into the Prada protocol, yes or yet, and jumped in. So one thing that I want to be mindful of with that particular module is there 16 videos in that, and is it 45 minutes? No. I'm trying to at least practice what I preach, which is quality over quantity. What matters with that, and I have it in the actual download PDF of the slides, where I say it's the quality of the idea that matters, not the quantity of information that you get. And when it comes to implementing the idea of constraints in your lives, you don't need to go and have to sit through 16 hours of videos for you to get the concept. What matters is getting the concept and then immediately going to the field of play and digging into, like the 3-page or 4-page workbook I have for you. Like, what are the frustrations in your life that you're constantly struggling with? And how can I apply this idea of constraints so that I can remove the idea of decisions away from my life that I'm confronted with? So yes, not yet, some not yets. And I hope this actually reassures some of you too, because I know that the natural stage of implementing this stuff is overwhelmed. That you've already got so much on your plate. Why would I, as someone who's trying to move you forward, helping you to perform better, want to throw a whole bunch more on your plate when you don't need it? What we need is just the concept of the idea to get it. And if you don't get it, or you don't know quite how to apply it, then that's why we're here in the implementation to ask the questions about possibly making it apply. But you'll notice with that, and I say it inside the training, I'm typically always in a blue shirt and a blue V-neck. I have like Superman in my closets, just a whole bunch of these things just waiting to get thrown on throughout the week when I need them. So thank you, Stacy. If you've got those frustrations, hey, raise your hand. That's why we're here. I'm here to answer questions. And I mean, I get that some of the questions that we've had so far inside the training has been more wrapped around growing your business and seeing how you can apply the strategies to growing your business and things like that. But not a lot of people have come in sometimes and asked the questions around the specific application of the content itself. So don't forget that. That's what I'm here to do, is support really the concepts of the 90-day year and then getting you to apply them. So if you've got questions, feel free to raise your hands as soon as I can find where all the hand raising is. There we go. Let's go with Giovanna Rossi. Just so you know, you are on mute on your end right now, Giovanna.
Okay, I think that's better. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Giovanna.
Hi, Todd.
Hello.
Yes, thanks for taking my question. I am first of all, just so
that's what you
thrilled to be a part of this program. And I just have a kind of a fundamental question about the direction I'm going in order to use the tools the best way that I know you want us to.
Sure.
And that is, I have a consulting business. It's a pretty successful, good business. I've been running my consulting business for 5 years. But it's not scaling at all, and it's wearing me out. It's completely draining, and I can't keep up the pace to keep up the income that I am now used to. And so I have this side project, which is to do this podcast and do all this stuff with this other brand. And I'm just, after hearing you talk and going through the program, I'm just not sure if I should be focused on the side project or if I should be trying to scale my consulting business.
Okay. So before we kind of dig into that, I mean, how much time is this podcast going to take for you to get launched in your week? Or if we broke it down even to if you were to factor out how many hours it's going to take in your week, how much time in your day is it going to take in a typical day for you to get it going?
So it's pretty much a part of what I already do because I already have a radio show. So I'm just turning that system of getting interviews and putting it out on a radio show, putting that into a podcast. So it's not that much more work, and it's certainly something I am able to do.
Okay. And the purpose of the podcast is eventually to take you where?
Well, the purpose of the podcast is it's tied in with the branding of my side project, which is the Well Woman Show. And it's all about health and wellness for women, entrepreneurs, and leaders. So
okay.
It's tied into, if I'm going to really grow the side project into its own business, then, it's definitely tied into that.
Okay.
And I had some goals.
Go ahead.
I had some goals and SPIs around not only launching the podcast, but growing the membership of the Well Woman whole brand that I have. I have members, and I do monthly live events with them and everything. And this is all a side project.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, having seen your program now and going through it, I'm like, gosh, I really should probably be trying to scale some of my services in my consulting business so that I leverage that as well, and I don't just ditch the consulting business for this other thing that may or may not work out.
Sure. And you see that now what you've got is actually a side business, right?
Yeah, basically, the income from the side business was 5% of my income.
Okay. What would you say when you take a look at, let's say in a normal week, you work 50 hours, and in that week you devote 30 hours to your consulting and 20 hours to this side business. What I'm trying to get to is, what's the return that you've gotten so far? Which one gives you the higher return based on the amount of money or time that you put into it? Is it the consulting or is it this other thing?
In terms of return, in terms of income?
Yeah.
The consulting, for sure.
The reason I say this is because, let's just go back to, say, product lines in a business. My wife, who does basically outsourced CFO work with businesses, a lot of times people will take a look at a product, and that product does, say, 50% of all their revenues. And so they devote a lot of their resources to that product line because it is 50% of the revenues. And then they've got other products that might do 5% or 10%. But when you actually take a look at the numbers, the revenue that's brought from that one product that brings in 50% of the revenue, the profit you get from it is actually not that large. And yet another product where you devote very little time to, its profit, when you take a look at expenses and all that kind of stuff, is actually quite high. So if the company start to devote resources, meaning time, their energy, their people towards that smaller product, they might have a bigger winner there than the other thing that and that's the importance of looking at the numbers. So what I was asking was more around, yes, you only get 5% of your revenue from that side business, but is that also just a side, is that also just a byproduct of the fact that you really don't devote that much time to it?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's why I thought if I do this program, I would get, further along with it and maybe grow it.
Yeah. But this gets to there's no such thing as a side business. Business is business. A side business takes the exact same amount of, it takes marketing, it takes operations, it takes systems, it takes finance, it takes logistics, it takes delivery, just like a big business does. So the idea that we can run little side businesses is, on the limited resources that we might have as a solo entrepreneur, is obtuse. And honestly, that's probably one of the biggest insights people get from kind of running through this program with myself, is me reminding people that doesn't exist. So this kind of club of beaten over the head with, where it's like, no, you got to follow your passions, and this business may lead to something quite big. I don't know, but if you lack the time and energy to devote to it, and then that time and energy you're devoting to that starts sucking away from your primary business, now you've gotten yourself into a hole where you've got financial issues then, and that isn't something that's fun for anybody.
Right.
So when you take a look at your consulting business, what would it take for you to get it into scale up?
I guess that's where I'm stuck. I'm not sure, because I do so much of my business is directly with government agencies and running meetings and running projects. I'm not sure how much of that is scalable.
What is the business itself? What do you do?
I basically consult with any organization that's trying to improve the health and lives of women and families. So Department of Health, academia, different nonprofits, and I manage projects for them and do communications and strategic planning and all of that kind of thing. And trainings. I do trainings. I guess I could do some of the trainings as scalable items.
So what's the little insight that you're thinking there?
What's the what?
What's the little insight that because you were just talking it out and you thought to yourself, well, wait a second, maybe that is something that I can scale. What was that about? What are you doing inside the trainings that you see as possibly scaling differently?
Well, I guess I'm thinking that I'm trying to think of services that I do, that I offer, that I wouldn't have to be there in person every single time. So trainings, I could record the trainings and offer them somehow. Yeah. So that, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Which is a very big business, by the way. I've got many friends who are in the consulting space working with corporate clients where they're essentially selling memberships to corporations where their teams can go and log in and consume content. Just like everyone in this kind of online B2B or B2C space does it. You can do the exact same thing. They buy those things as well. If the training is what they need, they do that all the time too. So.
Well, this is exciting. I think I'm having a little bit of a breakthrough here and just thinking, okay, actually I could scale some of these services that I offer, but it's making me think I need to focus my goals and SPIs and my 90-day year on that rather than the other stuff.
So here's what I would do then, honestly, because while I like to put numbers to things, I also don't want to discourage people away from, say for example, I think from a coaching perspective, maybe if you've got a high-priced coaching thing, just as a service, Instagram isn't the best place to go and spend your time. There's probably better places for you to spend your time because the buyers on Instagram are typically buying e-commerce or lower dollar numbered products. But if you like going onto Instagram and playing around there, then go ahead, like knock yourself out, have fun with it. That's okay. So if you really get some juice in your life from the podcast, then do it. Do it as a side project that you just love doing. Don't look at it as a way of you trying to scale it out of a business, though. Yet, use that mental energy and devote that towards your consulting thing. And then the podcast thing is just a place for you to maybe like when I play the long game, when I play the long-term game in my head of where I'd like to see myself go in the next few years, that podcast thing could really serve that, meaning I'm going to get great relationships out of it. I'm building an audience around myself and things like that I can then leverage when I do launch something like that. The key here I say this all the time, is the point of us actually really, the point of me personally, the reason why I love the topic of just achievement and goals is because it creates possibilities. So what I'm trying to constantly create for myself is more possibilities. The person with the most possibilities will typically win. And so by you chasing down this podcast thing and doing the thing that you love, and it's already leveraging a skill that you already have, which is the radio stuff, you are creating additional possibilities where you don't know where it might take you.
Yeah.
It's the idea that you build two businesses at once that are not in scale up when one isn't in scale up, and trying to context switch back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough. It's really hard.
That's what I was realizing after hearing you talk. And just one other fact that would be helpful based on your question and answer with other people on other calls is my avatar for the side project, which I know I'm not calling a side project anymore. But the avatar for that project, which is Well Woman, is the same as the clients that I deal with in my consulting business, who are like the project directors that I deal directly with. It's like they're the same people, but it's obviously a whole different thing that I'm offering in the Well Woman area. But does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
So.
You're good.
Well, thank you. This is really helpful.
You're welcome, Giovanna. Thanks for the question. Alrighty, bye-bye for now.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Samantha Tan, you are up to bat. Hi, Samantha. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Samantha.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, sorry, I haven't got a headset, so I usually have to shout through the laptop if you don't mind.
Could you talk just a little bit closer to the microphone, though, because you're really quiet?
Is this better?
No, you're still quiet.
Okay. Is this better now?
Getting better, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello? Now you're quiet. All right, Samantha, maybe I will come back to you and see if we can dial you in later. Jackie Stallard.
Hello, can you hear
Hi,
me?
Jackie.
Hi,
How are you?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Yes. I have a question about webinars. I wanted to launch an online course last year, and it took me longer than I expected. So it didn't happen, and realizing how much work it was, I thought I'd run a live 4-week webinar series for people who are getting started with their websites.
Yeah.
So I'd present some content, but mostly it would be an opportunity for people who don't have websites yet to ask lots of questions, or kind of beginners. Now, I thought I'd do that because I thought I could get it up and running faster than an online course.
Yeah.
And it would give me an opportunity to test the market and find out what questions are people asking. And then afterwards I could bundle it up and sell it as a digital product.
Yes.
And I thought I'd sell it, but it's my first webinar series. I've never done one, and most webinars seem to be free. So is that a good idea, or should I don't have anything to on sale at the moment, except for my web design services. So is that a good idea?
So Yeah, and this is where the art of languaging comes in. If you think about a book, when you think of how much a book costs, how much would you pay for a book, Jackie?
I'd normally go to Amazon and buy a Kindle version for $14, $15.
Yeah. But if you had how much would you pay for a complete guide on something?
Yeah, I'd pay more for that.
Yeah, and yet I bet you the complete guide wouldn't be as long as the book.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to make is it's the art of making sure we're using the right language. That doesn't put us into a bucket in people's heads when they think about the value that we should be paying for the program. So you're right. If you called your thing a webinar, then people in your market might go, well, I'm used to just signing up for webinars for free. Why is she charging for it? But if you called it a get your business online boot camp, and it's 4 weeks and it's live training. Now you're talking. I mean, because what you don't want to be selling is the process, right? We're not selling. The process is how you're delivering the thing. The process is you're doing 4 webinars over the course of 4 weeks. But really what you're selling, what the promise is the thing on the other side. At the end of the month, what are they going to get? What is it that they really want? I mean, many people just want to get their frickin' presence online, finally, after sitting around for 3 years having the idea, or 6 months of struggling with a web designer that didn't end up doing it, or whatever the case is. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So just making sure that you're using the right words that will allow you to charge whatever that number is going to be for you. But I mean, webinars. I mean, there are people who do charge to get on webinars, but I think that they could maybe call it a different name so that they don't get thrown into that mental bucket that people have of how much something costs, like the book. So someone could take the book, the exact same content that they have in their book, maybe put in some additional exercises in it, call it a complete guide, and now they're charging $99 for that same thing that they were charging $14 on Kindle for.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Todd.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I get that.
How are things in Oz?
Oh, we had a beautiful day yesterday. We were in the surf, bodyboarding with my kids. Yeah, pretty good.
All right. Well,
it's usually pretty good here.
Well, now I don't like you.
Oh, you can come visit.
Oh, I've been many times. You've got it. I mean, my best mates here in New York City are all Australian too, so it's a good land. So, thanks, Jackie, for the question.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay, ciao. All right, let's go with Shlomo. Shlomo, here you go. Oh, I've got the little Mac Wonder Wheel going. Come on. Hello, Shlomo?
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about that. I don't know.
Okay.
Go to webinar, but we're back. What's going on?
Yeah. I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to ask. This is almost midnight in Berlin, so I'll try to focus and ask properly. So I'm an Israeli who live at the moment in Berlin, and my business is going to be focused. It's going to be actually in Israel because my Hebrew and so on. The Israeli market is pretty small. And I think I've discovered a need in the Israeli market, maybe also in the international market, which is no one at school teaches about money, anything about money, not how to run a basic budget or basic concepts about money. And when I talk to people about it, they're like, yeah, no one taught me that. And there are many issues with money because the kids don't have the habits and so on and so on. And they learn from the parents. So this is, I was now thinking, I started actually the validation thing, and I did a survey, and I got a couple of hundreds of answers, and they were pretty amazing, and the assumptions I had were, based on the validation process you gave, that people indeed see it as it's like a black hole, and so there is a solution. I was hoping to make an online course with a short system, something, not a 90 days thing, but like system to implement some habits or healthy budget thing and to make it very simple and understood and so on. Now, my question is, when I dig into this idea, it feels to me, it resonates like my life mission, because it's very big in Israel and maybe internationally, because it is a big thing. Everyone needs something like this. And on one hand, I would like to have it like a free for everyone and have tens of thousands of people register, blah, blah, blah. And on the other hand, I say, okay, you need to have it, someone needs to pay for it, and maybe you should have it like a small thing, but charge for it, expensive maybe, or, I'm not sure about the pricing even. So I'm not sure in which strategic direction should I go. What's your take on that?
Okay, so did you get a chance yesterday, Shlomo, to be on the training called the action class that I did with Kim Fuller on strategic partnerships?
I did, yes.
Okay, so are you familiar with Khan Academy?
Yes, I am, yes.
So Khan Academy...
Not intimately. I know them. I've traveled in the,
But so Khan Academy, I forget the gentleman's name who started Khan. His last name's Khan, but Khan Academy partnered up with, it was either Citibank here in America or Chase to talk about this very thing that you're talking about. Because again, need for people to understand, money and finance. What I would encourage you to do is take a look at what their model is, because just because they implemented it here in America, doesn't mean that you can't take that same idea. Now, Khan Academy, they're on a very different platform than you have right now, because, they have hundreds of thousands of users. But what they did, they partnered with a bank. You could go and partner with a bank in Israel, create that presentation or create that pitch just like Kim was talking about, and they actually finance it. That does a whole bunch of social good. It gets people, their name is behind it. And so that could be a way of getting it out there. But I agree with you. It is a huge need that's in the marketplace for people to understand money and finance and how it works and things like this. But do people want to pay for it? That's the thing. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is prevent people from making bad financial decisions. Prevention is one of the hardest things to sell. It is, people who sell fire alarms, that's why they only show up on someone's doorstep once their neighbor has had a fire next door. That's when all the fire alarm guys show up, or the burglar alarm people show up, because prevention is hard to sell. So I agree that there's definitely a need for it, and people think that the idea is great. But that's when people say to me, that's a great idea. And I say, great. So what I'm doing is I'm offering people right now a, what's the word I'd look for? Not early bird, but someone who gets into the program that, early. They get preferred pricing or something like that. All of a sudden you get to find out really quickly if people are going to, part with their money to invest in something like that.
Okay, one more thing about it is, I was also wondering, because I could go and address the parents or the teens, like school because I think, as you said, it's really difficult to sell prevention, but when I market it to the parents or to the kids, but it's the kids' future thing. The parents know that they are not okay with the finances. They don't run a normal budget and so on, and they don't want the kids to have the same thing. Do you think it's different, or shouldn't I go in that direction?
Okay, so what you're talking about is actually a similar market that I was in. Like when I was in when my only business was the sports business, what I was doing was, I was working with the teens, the athletes, but the parents were paying. It's such a hard market to be in because I'm delivering the service to this person, but that person's paying. So
Right.
that person, while they're not directly getting the benefit, indirectly they are, because they get to see their teen or their athlete perform more confidently, and possibly if they're good, get awards and medals and things like this. But it is actually a hard market. And so what I had to do every time I did presentations was ensure that if I'm doing a talk to teens, I had to get the parents to be in the room at the same time, because I can't get that kid to go home and be excited about Todd and then try and sell the parents on why they should hire me to come in and work with them. Right? That's
Right.
because they're not going to be as good of a salesperson as I could be in the moment. Right? So there's definitely an opportunity there. And then one thing, if you want to get young people on board, because the model is sort of proven out with this, is building out a lot of gamification into that process, Shlomo.
Exactly what I thought. Yes.
Yeah, so that the kids get really engaged with the idea of money and finance, and they're learning it through some sort of gameplay. So now that doesn't mean you got to go out and build some sort of big application online. Gamification can be as simple as the games that you play, in a classroom or in a group, not just online. So.
Thank you very much for the great
welcome.
insights.
And thumbs up to you for actually using the validation framework and going out there and trying to validate something.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Good luck to us all.
And thanks for being on this late at night over in Berlin.
Sure.
Yes. All right. Brian Ullman. Brian, are you there?
Probably hook up with Shlomo because got an aspect of my business that is international that does what he does, is trying to do there. But anyway, what I wanted to talk with you about, the product model has really kind of opened my eyes to some stuff. I wish that was kind of one of the first things that you brought out, but it addresses specifically an issue that I'm looking at. I'm in the financial services arena, and one of the major focuses we do is financial education, but a big time obstacle that I have is dealing with a parent that I'm also caring for. And so I'm trying to figure out how to manage my time, develop my SPIs in a very dynamic environment.
Yeah.
And I'm having a lot of challenges doing that, and it's significantly impacted my business over the last couple of years. And I'm looking for tools to make that go away.
Yeah, sure. So just so I have this right in my head, you're someone who has started to probably care for either a mom or a dad, right?
Correct.
Correct? Okay. And when you say that you live in a dynamic environment, does that mean you also work from home?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any people around you that also take on the caretaking role with you?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that. What's that situation then?
We've scaled up to where we now have a 40-hour-a-week caregiver that comes in and attends to most of his daily needs. I also have an additional 18-hour-a-week caregiver that comes in for some evenings and some relief on the weekends.
Yeah.
So about almost 70 hours a week covered. He's gotten to the point now where he requires some kind of supervision almost 24 hours a day, though.
Yeah.
That's where that's covered.
Okay. So where do you feel it impacts you the most in your days?
When you say where, it's in the interruptions.
Yeah.
The things that the caregiver can't handle. So it comes in the form of interaction with his medical professionals, because I now have to be involved with all of his physicians, medications, ordering them, dealing with the VA, Veterans Administration. So those are all, for the most part, non-scheduled, except of course when a doctor visit is scheduled. But there's easily a half a dozen times a week that I'm getting interrupted at one point in time or another during the day on something to do with him, and it's kind of like, okay, I got to take that call now, or I may not get it for another week.
Okay.
Because of
Okay. Do you know, if you logged those calls, is there a specific time of day that you typically get those calls?
No, they come kind of random. They can occur as early as 7:30 in the morning and as late as 9 o'clock at night. The emails and the texts will come in again at any time. Sometimes I get a text over a medication that has to be picked up 30 minutes before the pharmacy closes.
Yeah.
Even though it's been sitting there 4 hours.
So is there a good inventory tracking system on his medications?
Yes, there is, and which I have implemented. The challenge with that is on the back end with the pharmacies, both his online pharmacy and the local pharmacies that we're using. I've gone through 3 different ones and just haven't come up with a good solution for them and their notification systems.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm asking all these questions because, I mean, by the way, to everybody that's on the call too, I mean, I know that this is, I mean, in every single 90-day year that we've had multiple people that are in caretaking positions with some sort of relative, whether it's a grandparent or whether that's their own personal parents. So I know that this is a stressor on your ability to kind of operate in an optimized environment. So, so typically for me, when I'm looking at trying to problem solve this stuff, it's trying to see if there's any additional resources that we haven't looked at applying yet to our situation that could help alleviate some of the stress and strain. You know, some instances it's, you know, some people really haven't asked other relatives to maybe take on some of the role, or in this case, what I was trying to get to is seeing if there was, you know, almost like you have to run your business as a system. Your dad is his own system as well. And so how are we doing in the operations section of that system to try and mitigate any interruptions or things that get in the way of you trying to perform your role? Like, have you had any ideas wrapped around what you could be doing or what could be done differently in the home?
Yeah, I've sat down and systemized several things. I've got a friend who is she's a manager of care homes, and I've sat down and done some systemization or systematizing of his care, and then of course the company now that provides his caregivers, they have their own systems as well, and so we've implemented that. We've implemented those. I've also implemented some online tools for tracking, managing, and organizing his medications, his doctor visits.
Yeah.
Keeping track of medical notations, his caregivers. If I'm out doing client presentations, meetings, whatever it might be, they're keeping track of all of his vitals and taking notes of what happens, blah, 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 so that I've got that can be reported. So I've put those systems in place.
You know, here's a If you left the home and you stopped working in it, could that alleviate a bunch of things? Because what my experience is when someone knows that you're there, they will typically ask you things that they could have typically solved on their own. I mean, here in New York City, before I moved, I live in the Chelsea area, and before that I lived on the Upper West Side, and there's a health club that I go to up there called the Reebok Health Club, and a lot of like famous, actors go there, and then there's, some pretty good very high level business people there as well. But there's quite a few of us that would actually have this nice kind of cafeteria lounge area. A lot of us would use it as our office because they had private phone booths that you could go into and work out if you were taking on private calls. And one of the guys that I worked there, he ran a multi-billion-dollar investment fund. And I said to him, and I kind of in my head, I thought I already knew the answer, but I said, why do you stay here? And he said, well, because when I'm here, the work of the business gets done. The moment I step foot in the office, then everyone else's problems start showing up on my plate. So I would bet that some of these sort of, not irritances, but just interruptions would maybe go away just by simply you removing yourself from it. Would that be an option?
Yeah, I did that for about 6 months, and because I agree with you that there was a lot of that going on, and that I think it made the point, and but what we started having challenges with was when he would take a fall. And not to get into too many personal things, but as an example, when he would take a fall, then I get the phone call, he's on the floor, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
And the caregiver's only going to do so much. So at that point in time, it's in many cases quicker for me to get back to the house than it even is for them to call Lift Assist, which is a 911 call, to get them there to help get him up off the floor. Because he's not hurt. Maybe he's got a bruise on his arm, but it's not a serious fall. If it's a serious fall, they call 911.
Yeah.
So anyway, I put some very stringent rules in place that they know.
Yeah.
They don't bother me if it's not an emergency, and they've been very good about that now.
Now, are you trying to do something that you're just not equipped to do anymore? Like, is it like, again, this goes back to, I'm thinking of systems and models all the time. Like sometimes the system and the model that we're trying to exist with, it just is never going to support the end result we're looking for. Is it at the point in time where your dad needs to go into an actual assisted living home so he can actually get all that support?
Well, honestly, I know that we are moving to that point, and we're probably somewhere between now and 6 months to maybe 8 months from being there.
Yeah.
So, I know that's coming. And he knows it's coming too. I've just been trying to get through this last 6 to 8 months, and just picked up this program now, so it's kind of right in the middle of it. So
yeah, at the end of the day, there's only so much something can solve, right? Sometimes the situation is the situation, but the only thing that I would say is just an example from the stuff that I work with athletes on. When I start working with a pro athlete, about 80% of our conversation is really wrapped around supporting them in what's happening off the field. We would love to just talk about sport and stuff, but really our conversations would be quite short if we did. Most of the time we're managing a lot of the off the field stuff, whether it's friends, family, etc. And there's always a couple of people that are the biggest drains on their sort of emotional or mental energy. And one of the things that I track is the 5-hour window before a performance, before a game, before competition. Because if someone interrupts the routine or the mental and emotional stability of the athlete, you will see the result on the field of play. They'll make more mistakes or something like that because it set off and it screwed up their routine. And so what I do is I help actually manage those people around them. And how I would say that is, let's say, Brian, you're the dad of, an NFL kid, and, you're a great dad, but you're, a little bit overbearing. What I would do is I'd go to you and say, hey, Brian, I'm working with, Josh. And one of the things of working with tons of high performers is there are people in athletes' life that will sometimes distract and get them away from their performance. And so we really need to manage that 5-hour window. Can I get you to help me manage that 5-hour window so that other people don't get in there? So I'm not accusing you, actually. I'm saying that you're going to be the helper. You're going to be my main guy. And so the same thing you could apply to your caretaker and say, listen, in order for me to give my dad the care that he needs, that only happens by me performing inside of my financial services company. So if there's a way that you can help mitigate as much as possible any interruptions that we have, and so that I can stay focused on what I need to get done in my window of time in my day that I work, that would really help. And you'd be surprised at the level of people who really kind of step up and take care of that for you.
Okay.
And outside of that recommendation, I can't think of many other things that are going to really move the needle for you. And maybe it's a situation too, Brian, you can post that question because there are a lot of people in the program that have situations like that, whether it's your dad or whether it's someone who has kids. And I mean, situations, while they're different, are still similar in that there's people around that just that are tugging at our pant leg in some way.
Right. Well, and here's the hard question I've also been considering, and is, do I put this program on hold till the next iteration of this? Am I just trying to do too much?
Yeah, and I mean, you're the one who can answer it. I mean, I'm not going to force someone who can't apply it to be in it by any stretch. So totally in your wheelhouse there, Brian.
All right, good stuff. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you betcha. Thanks, Brian. All right. Okay, let's go to come on, go to webinar. Sandra Reed.
Hi, Todd. It's Sandra here from New Zealand.
Ah,
can you hear me?
Kiwi, how are you?
Good, thank you very much.
Good.
Hey, I'm really turning my business upside down, and I'm revalidating the market for my art. Can you explain in the module why the creating avatar is particularly useful?
Sorry, say that again.
In the module on market validation,
yeah,
you talk about creating personas or avatars and that they're not particularly useful. Can you kind of explain? I'm trying to figure out whether this will be useful to me because I'm having a lot of trouble identifying my ideal market for my particular art.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm talking about there is many times people make the mistake of trying to talk to a physiological demographic, like my person looks like this. Whereas I approach business where I'm trying to solve the circumstance, like what is the problem that someone is struggling with, and that person could be a female with 2 kids, or it could be a single guy that's 45. I mean, I don't necessarily care about that as much as I care about really figuring out the circumstance that individual is in. And the only way that I can find that is by talking to them. I was just on a training before this with a bunch of entrepreneurs, and that was because they wanted to talk to me about the launch of the 90-day year and how that went and why through the market we got such, great results from their perception. And I said, well, because I really know the struggle that entrepreneurs are going through. And so because I know what that struggle is, I can hit on those things with the content of the stuff that we put out there. So, I mean, I've mentioned this before, working with Ogilvy and Mather and here in New York City, one of the big advertising agencies. And one of the things that I talk about with them is situational relevance. Like, what's the situation someone's in right now? Like, and what's the relevance to then your product or your service? So when you think about your art, what's the circumstance or the situation someone's in that would cause them to really appreciate your offer?
For me, I'm a digital artist, so I'm not a conventional artist at all.
Okay.
So the tricky thing here is that people don't actually understand my style of art, and in fact, there's very, very few people who even work in the style that I work in. So I've got something that's really unique and it's really different and people like, but it doesn't fit into the mainstream art world of contemporary art. And I'm sort of thinking that I might take it to its true roots into the sort of the digital realm and really create a digital product. So I don't know whether to sort of go down the path of talking with sort of people in the technology sector, because I know that sort of the technology sector will understand it because I'm working
Sure.
with a digital form, or whether I should go to the contemporary market and try to persuade people who might be a little bit resistant to my style.
Yeah.
It's kind of which way do you go with this and how do you find those people, because it is, I don't fit within a mainstream art gallery or the mainstream contemporary art world of collectors.
Yeah, you might not fit in, but you might have a unique story. So are you familiar with chalk artists?
No, I'm not.
So or sidewalk chalk artists?
Oh yes, chalk. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So is that a contemporary art form? No.
It is.
You think it's
Well,
contemporary? Or sorry, do you think that's a traditional art form?
No, I don't.
Yeah, and I mean it's and yet what's one of the, because I know one of the top chalk artists in the world, not personally, a good friend of mine kind of runs her marketing and stuff, but not a good friend, but a friend of mine. And what those people do is they show the story of their process really well. Like
Right.
it's their creation coming to life, which is just engaging. And that's, I think, the other night or last week when there was the New York meetup here, and I kind of surprised people by just showing up. One of the gentlemen there is an artist as well, and that's one of the things I was talking about, was like him telling the story of his art and how that comes up, because he's in a very non-traditional space as well, like you. So that, because at the end of the day, in many pieces of art, what I'm buying is the story behind the art, especially in collector art, because it's the story I get to tell my guests around what that painting means, or what that digital piece means. Now,
Right.
you make it easier for someone to tell the story when you've told the story of it through just the visual medium of video, possibly.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. And then, because you just don't know where those videos go, because that's how this lady was discovered. And so what she does is she gets commissioned to come and do huge sidewalk chalk things, like murals, essentially, for really big events like CES, like the Consumer Electronics Summit in Las Vegas. And for her, that she could charge upwards of $50,000 for that.
Right.
And so for you, your target market might be those people, in the technology space, because they're going to appreciate the digital side of things, and how you've taken the form of the world of digital bits and bytes, and you've got your twist on it, which is an art form.
That's really, really useful. I've actually been thinking of video, and I've got a lot of feedback. I've been a guest speaker on a Blab session, and I got a lot of really, really positive feedback from that. So that's actually probably a really good idea for me.
Yeah, so I would go and do just a quick little bit of research and see how, just type into YouTube like sidewalk chalk artist and any of those kind of unusual forms, and see how some of those people have told the story of their medium. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, like when I'm going through the launch of the 90-day year, what am I ultimately trying to do with the videos that I'm giving away for free? I'm trying to create an appreciation for a certain set of beliefs that's going to cause someone to want to take me up on the offer of joining me in this program. And some of those beliefs that I need to install are things like, I need people to appreciate that someone's anecdotal version of success is not something that's going to serve everybody. And in fact, it's what people have leaned on for a long time in maybe the space. And then another thing I need them to appreciate, and so I've got to prove that out. There has to be some proof elements. And then I need them to appreciate that there is that the model that you work inside of is what matters. I need them to appreciate that feedback loops and short amounts of time on goals is what you do. So how do I do that? I give studies and case studies and research on how, anything beyond 90 days is proven to increase procrastination. So for you, what you're trying to do through the video is appreciate your art.
Thank you very much. That's really, really helpful. I think you've just unblocked a big roadblock for me.
Yes, then this support session is exactly worth it. So
thank you very much, because I've had a really stressful week over this one.
Awesome stuff, Sandra. And so because you're in that art community, I would leverage, your friends that are in, that are videographers and could help you put together some really great piece of propaganda to go out into the world.
Thank you very much, Todd. You have a wonderful day.
You too, Sandra. Have a great Thursday.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Okay. Aaron Lopez, you're up to bat next.
Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can.
You got another New Zealander, mate, but I'm from London.
Look at that.
So I do have a question, and it came up on Facebook before by another prominent member, and it's about content. Basically, how do I put this? Content comes out at a way slower rate than you expect it to, and I suppose I'm not the first person to experience this. Yeah. One of my goals was to, one of my SPIs was to build an email list within the next 90 days, 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. And I thought one of my SPIs was to, what would I say? What was it again? Two blog posts in 2 weeks, and instead I've got one blog post in 1 week. In 2 weeks, sorry. Okay. So it was the other way around. So I was just thinking I would have to completely redo everything. Now, is that something that you are going to experience, or is it something that I've miscalculated? I'm not sure, and it stressed me out quite a bit. No.
It shouldn't stress you out. That's the point of the whole 2 week cycle, is that, I mean, anytime we're going after a goal or we're trying to achieve a project, however you want to change those words up, essentially, because we've never done it before, if it's a brand new project, if it's a project we've completed before, then there is no, we have maybe the process in place. And now it's not really a goal. It's a project now, but a goal by its very nature is I've never done it before. So there's just an estimation that's going to be happening on how long I think it's going to take in order to achieve it, because I haven't done many of these things yet. So that's why these short little 2 week cycles allows us in the beginning to see, hey, of my estimation, how correct was I? Maybe I underestimated, maybe I overestimated. Guys will typically definitely overestimate how much they can get done. Females are typically better at maybe judging the amount of time, and yet they'll still experience the same thing. But no, what's important about you getting that number of you did one blog post in 2 weeks, what was the factor for you that prevented the 2 blog posts from happening? What do you think?
I think it was word count. I think so. I didn't estimate that my blog post would be 5,000 words as opposed to 2,000 words. So yeah.
So you're putting together like a really big epic piece of content.
Yeah, it didn't turn out that way. But yeah, it did end up that way. And you know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, the very nature of that is that it's going to take longer. And I mean, a friend of mine who really does. He teaches people about blogging online and amongst other things. Derek Halpern. He's more of the mind of putting out really great content over frequency of low quality content. So just because someone puts out 6 blog posts in 2 weeks, but if someone puts out one epic piece of content in a course of a month, I mean, that epic piece of content has a greater likelihood of being picked up on by other influencers in the space.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. And then just from a strategic standpoint too, I mean, is there, what's your market?
So basically, I work in the film industry, and I came to the UK I was doing crewing back in New Zealand, but I wanted to come to the UK and do writing and directing. So one of the strategies I found, what I thought would be visibility as a writer, and pitch it here in London. So my market is horror writing, because the niche is pretty culty, pretty active. So I would be pitching to them. Or at least, gaining traction from their traffic. Or that's the theory anyway.
Okay. Whose traffic are you going to get?
People who like, who read or watch horror media.
Okay.
The genre horror.
Yeah, but who are you ultimately trying to attract as...
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Who I'd try to connect with, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, producers and to get the attention of producers and production companies here in London.
Okay. Now, would they be reading it, or would this be something where you go, hey, I wrote this piece of content and we've had 50,000 views of it in the horror genre, is this something that you'd like?
That's correct, because an issue that would always come up would be, okay, have you got something that's been written, and have you seen a market for it? That's sort of what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, in my head, it makes sense. So, yeah. And then, I mean, if you actually built up a big following or a big audience in this, are you serializing it? By the way?
Yes. I've heard about serialization, and so I have. Yes. Hello?
Yeah, hello? Yeah, I'm right there.
Yeah, yes, I am. I am serializing it.
Okay, so I mean, what I mean by serializing too is, like, if you're putting out content for people, don't close the loop on the story. Keep it opened so that it causes them to want to come back the next time when you release your next piece of content.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, so if you put out this epic piece of content, this big, long 2,000, 3,000 word, story, don't make it a short story that is, short and tight, and what I would do is I would almost be releasing these posts as if it's a book, and I would be creating it so that when we get to the end of that one post, it doesn't close off the story, and you're leaving suspense to see what happens for the next post that you put out. That way you get your readership back. That's the point of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a good strategy.
Yeah. Because I know there's a lot of people in the fiction, not a lot, but there's a good handful of people in the fiction space that have launched themselves into very successful writing careers by doing this very thing. and I wish I had the example. There's a girl who's doing millions of dollars a year by writing serialized stories, and she self-publishes as well on the Kindle platform, and she has a rabid audience. And she's in the fantasy, maybe she's not in horror, but I think she's in the fantasy space. So now that's one person, but I know that there's more. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, that does make sense, Todd. Thanks. I know it's a very interesting. Lots of people here do businesses and stuff, and I was thinking, can I be successful doing fictional screenwriting? But I think it's given me a lot. It's been a lot clearer now since I've been in the 90 days for the last couple of weeks. So let's hope
awesome.
that pans out.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, like I say, it's a pretty agnostic system. It's just an engine. You pour into it whatever you want, and if you run it right, you're gonna get results from it. So I'm looking forward to getting the invite to your red carpet finale.
Thank you.
Cheers, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right, Garesh Bangalore. Hello, Garesh. You're on mute, I think, or I can't. You don't have your audio plugged in or something. 3, 2, 1. Sorry. We'll move on to Sylvia Schneider. Hello, Sylvia.
Hi.
How are you?
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
So, the more I listen, the more I get clarity, but I also get confused.
Oh, geez.
I know. So, I was kind of curious about what you said to Giovanna, because I feel like I'm in kind of a similar position as her, and I also feel like I'm in a similar position to Jackie. When you were talking about things to Giovanna, you mentioned something about passion, and the audio cut out for me, so I missed that whole bit. Can you explain what you said about passion?
Yeah, I just said that there's times where if you're passionate about something, while I'm all about making sure that we're holding the things that we're doing accountable, because here's the harsh reality. People on here, you're busting your butts to try and make your business go, and some people are in scale up and leader up. We've got we got people inside 90 a year that are doing $30 million a year inside their business, and so they're at a different level. They got different needs. But there's other people who are in dream up and startup, and they're working possibly really hard at something, or they're working really hard on the idea of it, and the purpose of, because I care about performance. I care about what's actually happening on your field of play in your day, because that's where results happens. And while I'm very much let's measure and let's track this stuff so that you can really see and get visceral feedback on what's moving the needle on your performance, I'm also mindful of there are parts of our lives where we get to play. And, if you're really passionate about something, and yeah, it's not producing you money, but you're really passionate, you really do get something from it, like it serves you, then do it. You don't have to listen, not about not listening to me, but you don't have to make everything have to produce $10,000 on the entrepreneurial scorecard. So if she was really passionate about the podcast, what I was just saying to her was, maybe you continue to do that. Don't try and treat it as a business though, because your main source of revenue, your consulting agency, isn't in scale up yet. Let's get your business into scale up so that you can then unshackle yourself from a lot of the time that it takes to work inside of it, so that you can devote to possibly other things. It's a very big mistake that someone would make by thinking that you can build two really successful businesses at one time. I know multi-million dollar entrepreneurs who would never think that way. They would never do that. And yet this whole passion project thing leads many people, and it's a very online thing. It's very much in this online space where people think that it's okay that you can do that. I'm telling you that it's very challenging. So does that clarify?
It does in a way. And I would love to be one of those $30 million business owners, but if I didn't have the passion for it, I just couldn't do it. So now I'm wondering, so if I can go after the things that I'm passionate about and spend more time and more focus on them, will they give me a return eventually? And will they lead into something bigger?
Say it again, sorry?
Pardon me?
Say it again.
If I was to focus a lot of my time on the things that my passion is centered around, and spend more of my time and more of my focus, would it give me a return than if I continue doing what I am right now, which is almost a dichotomy of, two different things?
Well, I mean, it's a complex, it's a nuanced question, because it comes down to, is the passion thing that you're called, or you feel like you're called to do, is it something that provides value in the marketplace? Do people pay for it?
Right, and I'm thinking that your validation grid, I'm really going to be looking at that, because I have this very big, hairy, audacious goal that is centered around doing something for the equine industry, and I think it's something the equine industry can't do without. Yeah. But I need to validate it, and so there's that whole aspect. At this point in time, I'm wondering if my goal and my SBIs and my process should all be centered around figuring out my direction.
Yeah, no, totally. And sorry, because I love the equine industry, and I work with quite a few of the big names in the equestrian world. What's the thing in the equine industry that you're called to do?
I don't really want to, because we're not just talking you and I don't really want to bear it out there, and I haven't really thought it through, but I just feel that there are a lot of challenges facing the equine industry right now, and, I think that it's something that needs to happen to kind of get even people who are not exposed to horses, but maybe they don't even realize that they want to be exposed to horses because they're listening to all of the misinformation out there. They need to find out what the truths are and get more involved in the equine industry to draw more audience to it.
Okay. Yeah. But to your earlier point, yeah, validating the passion is a big thing. And then the great thing about it is the assumption that you have, because essentially what the mindset is you're a scientist with a thesis.
Right.
You think something is out there that you would like to prove, but you're going to go out there into the lab and you're going to find out. And the lab is essentially talking to that, audience of people. And in the talking to the audience of people, so, pouring the potions into the beakers and everything, you actually might discover something else, which is way more valuable, and you would never have come to that insight without you getting out onto the field and validating it with the people that are in it.
Yes, and I'm feeling a little bit behind the eight ball right now because I'm attending a horse conference this weekend, and I wish I would have had an opportunity to kind of sit down and hammer out some of that validation information, because I could probably be talking to people at the conference and finding out more information.
Yeah, Sylvia, the beauty of typically the stuff I try to put out there is, there isn't like 9 hours of program and course that you need to watch and read through in order to get the validation model in your head. I think it's maybe an hour long total. So you could come up with it. And essentially the whole validation process is about, really asking people questions and trying to find their frustrations. And then when they mention something, making sure that you clarify that. So many times, even many of you, like when you give me your situation, you will give me something that's very general, or you'll gloss over it, and I'll ask you things like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean you're struggling with XYZ? Because I can't make the assumption in my head. Because if I make the assumption in my head, I'm going to give you, possibly an answer or a solution that is nowhere near what you really need. So when you're talking to people and you're validating, you're being super curious about their situation. Really, tell me more about that. What do you mean that that's what you've been hearing? Have you been hearing it from a lot of people? Like, I'm trying to get the number. Like in my head, I'm trying to get the number.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense, and I need to do that. And I'm really good at engaging people when it comes to talking about horses and that sort of thing. So that's not a problem at all. Yeah, I have a lot of thinking to do, and I'm starting to think maybe my 90-year goal needs to be figuring out which direction I'm going to go in.
Hey,
and get that and nail it.
Clarity is the ultimate thing, because if you can get clarity out of 90 days, who knows what happens by the end of 2016 anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Thanks, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay. Katienne Dual. Hello.
Hi, I hope you can hear me.
I can.
Excellent. And you say the first name beautifully.
Oh, perfect. It's always a crapshoot.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm selling someone else's product and business right now. It's not for me. So I'm a sole trader, so everything's on my shoulders right now. Limited resources because I put a lot of my time, energy, and money into this other business, which I want to get out of after watching all of your videos and starting to do the program. I definitely want to do something that's mine and I'm overly passionate about because that's where I'm driven.
Yeah.
And I'm in startup right now. So I'm raring to go. Everything's worked out. The problem is it's the learning curve. I'm overwhelmed and I get to the end of, I'm working with yourself, Amy Porterfield and Melody Duncan to try and get my head around the media and the marketing. It just seems to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's the processes to do that because it's all new.
Yeah.
I'm having difficulty working out what those processes are.
Okay.
And I'm pretty close to getting to the validation point where I will do a Q&A webinar speaking to people within business or startup businesses. So showing them the processes and pointing them in the right direction. The first part is really boring when it comes to, but there are things you have to do like writing your business plan and where to get that information and different views. It's where to make things easier instead of nail the other foot to the floor and I'll stop going in circles.
Yeah.
It's learning, let's put it this way, I was a contractor for many, many years and didn't even have Facebook because recruiters and the business people in government, they look at what you're writing on Facebook, etc.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you've got someone who's a dill and doesn't want to, says ridiculous things, it can go against what you do, unfortunately.
Sure.
So I'm now in this huge learning curve of social media. And how do I nail that foot to the floor and stop going in circles?
Am
I making any sense?
Well, I mean, I get that you're at a place right now where you have a desire to want to serve a class of people, but you're going into a market that you haven't been in yet, right? So
yes.
it's trying to understand what do I need to do in this market in the beginning so that I can eventually actually serve this particular market.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, when we're going through that 3-phase achievement plan, essentially when we've decided on our outcome, this is where the middle part, that's why it's so hard is, and I've told people, like, I make no apologies for the fact that inside of the 90-day year, there's a part that's really hard, but it's not hard because I created it to be hard. I'm giving people the model of what's reality. The reality is, in order for you to really win at something, is the people who win typically have good strategies. And then so we need to understand that what it takes then to reach that objective or that outcome is resources. And so when you take a look at your resources that you're trying to bring into this market, you're starting at a disadvantage. Now, that doesn't mean it has to discourage someone from going after the goal, but it comes down to then, okay, well then what's the level of ambition or time you have available to go after that? Because I've seen people personally in less than 6 months scale up and get a great audience around them. But that's because they devoted so much time on the channels where their customers were that it allowed them to get in front of those people and have an offer eventually in front of them. So, Ketty-Ann, if you're already operating at a disadvantage because you don't understand or you don't have knowledge of the online space, then the easiest place for you to go to in the beginning would be align yourself with, and again, there's so many ways to it, success is like the center of town. There's many streets, avenues, and alleys you can take in order to get there. Some might be more direct than others, but there's still lots of ways to get there. And because this is the model, one of the models that I used essentially to scale up or become very proficient and successful in my kind of areas of expertise was being an apprentice and learning under other people. So for you, possibly maybe you don't get to go out and do your business yet, but maybe there's someone who's already out there that is doing it or serving the community that you would like to serve, and you could work with them in some capacity as well. Like, don't dismiss that as an opportunity.
Part of the plan is, and after listening to yesterday with Kim, which I found absolutely fantastic, is aligning myself with people like tax agents or tax specialists. I'm limiting my market originally to Australia.
Yeah.
Because of the legalese and the tax, etc.
Yeah.
Bringing in a business legal person to be either interview or have as a strategic partner that will do that part of the training side, and the same with the tax agent who will do that part of the training side, at least a couple of modules.
Yeah.
Which will help launch that part of it. Let's get through it. I know about the business plans, the marketing plans, all those sorts of things. And I have a few other people I can align with. So I believe that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I think between yesterday and this morning listening to you, I've just gone, oh my God, it's all too big. Yeah. And how do I bring, I think that overwhelming back to a point of, oh, okay, yeah, I know exactly where I'm up to and what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, for you, it's one of the first places to get unoverwhelmed is, and that's what, the product protocol and the idea of constraining ourselves down to a certain, like you've already kind of started to do that. Like, okay, so yes, I'm overwhelmed with the total market. How can I draw a smaller circle that I can go and talk to? And you talk about tax advisors. So now all of a sudden the overwhelm of talking to the entire market becomes smaller. Okay, then it's, how can I get in front of those people? Do I know anybody who knows tax advisors that, I could start to develop a relationship with, and maybe put my ideas in front of that person to see what they think about, what I have going on.
Okay. So I've mapped out the what.
Yeah.
Now I've just got to focus on the who.
Yeah.
And how I'm going to get to them.
Yeah.
So I think that's the next week.
Yeah.
We'll be talking to these people, bringing those information in. To some extent, I've I've set up the validation webinar, ready to go. I'm ready to launch that so I can invite people in. You're starting up a business. How can we help you? What are the things that you find really daunting, and put that out there?
Yeah. Great. Well, I mean, go and execute that and come back with the wins and the losses and the things you learned.
Thank you very much.
You have a great day in Australia.
You too.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right. Let's go to Christina Shands. Hello, Christina.
Hi, I was just getting ready to chicken out and lower my hand. And
I got ya.
Crap. So after watching the Prada protocol, I'm realizing my business is a complete mess because I'm offering so many services.
Yeah.
But when I think about reducing the number of services, it freaks me out because right now I'm doing messaging and marketing and launches and sales funnels. And in my mind, they all make sense. But it's a lot to offer someone, and then I end up trying to do all of it for one price, or they hire me to do copy, and I'm doing messaging, and I'm doing it all and not charging enough. And I don't. The question is, oh my gosh, what do I cut? What do I do? Should I cut it down to just one thing? Should I offer all four things and just start with someone at the very beginning?
Christina, think of it this way. So I'm very open about the fact that I go and hire basically the best of the best people. But I've got resources that I can spend. So I mean, that's the smart thing for me to do, is to use that resource to bring in that person's smart intellectual property inside the business to make it go faster. And so that I can scale up quicker than I don't want to learn everything there is to know about online stuff. Like, I mean, we use Infusionsoft as our back end for the business. Do I, as the business owner, need to know it? No, not finished. I don't need to know how to move things around inside of it. I need to know what its capabilities are. That's it.
Yeah.
So that I can determine strategy based on what I know as, okay, we have this technology resource inside of our business. These are its capabilities. Now I know what our possibilities are in the marketplace because of that technology. So, for me, I asked around and wanted to know who is the best at building out and who's the smartest when it comes to building out launching funnels online.
Yeah.
And everyone came back with Todd Brown. So that's who I went to, was Todd. And Todd's going to be coming in and one of the action classes with everybody and doing a training. So anyways, but he's known for that one thing. What comes along with it when I'm sitting down and I fly down to Fort Lauderdale and spend the day with him multiple times is we talk about messaging. We talk about all that other stuff. But the thing that got me in the door was the fact that he's known for that one thing.
Oh.
Right? So you can be talking about those other things because it's going to be natural for you. You already have experience in them. So it would be impossible for you to just talk about funnels and stay straight between the lines, because we both know that messaging comes into the equation and all that other stuff. But be known for the one thing.
Yeah.
And I can't stress that enough. I mean, if you want to be a generalist, it's really hard to market that and win and charge enough money to make that happen.
Yeah. Okay. I totally get it.
So pick the thing that has the most desirability in the market, or the thing that, if we were looking at, say, trends, the thing that seems to be trending up, getting to be known for that. I mean, a good example would be my clients, like client Melanie Duncan. When she, they had their e-commerce website, they had their e-commerce store, they had their stuff, but she was starting to use Pinterest as a way of driving traffic into it. Okay, so she got really good, and then so she launched a program, and so she was known as basically a Pinterest person. But she started with the one narrow thing, that was her narrow product, and now she's expanded out into something bigger. Amy Porterfield did the exact same thing. She started somewhere narrow and then expanded out. Now we're using online examples, but there's people in the other spaces. Like take a look at Levi's. Levi's started out in, well, what everyone thinks is actually the jeans market, but it wasn't. Levi's was actually selling pickaxes and shovels to gold rush people back in the 1800s. So he was selling them tools, and then it expanded out into something else. Because the need was people came back and they had clothing that was ripped, so he developed a product that was going to be strong enough to withstand the working environments that they were in. That's how their jeans line started.
Got it. Do you think that it's easy or less or not as difficult as I imagine it to be to go from a Pinterest to a general marketing expert? As far as, like, I think sometimes I'm afraid of getting pigeonholed and thinking, oh, well, why would I listen to her about this? She only does launches. Or
yeah, but here's what happens. So you bring in your community. They come in for this one thing. On the back end, you have, they get in the community, and then people realize, oh, this person really knows a lot about other stuff. Okay. So then you start selling your community that's already a buyer and you're validating your other programs, and then that community starts to spiral out, and then now you're known for multiple things.
Okay.
Right? Like Amy was known for Facebook. Now she's not. Mm-hmm. She expanded out beyond that, and she's got multiple products. But that, was that sort of a challenge for her? It was more a challenge mentally than anything else. That's the story she's telling herself, that, oh, I'm only known for this one thing. I'm like, listen, you're the one who lives with you 24/7. Not everyone else is thinking about you that much, even though you've got a great, right? Just like me, I don't think that all of you are going to bed, worrying and thinking about, geez, I wonder what Todd's next step is, because he's really known for this 90-day year thing. Geez, he might get a pigeonhole himself. I mean, trust me, I know you're not worried about that whatsoever. Makes sense, Christina?
It does, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool beans, thank you. All righty. Let's go with John Holcroft.
Hello.
Hello, John.
I'm great, thank you. I'm calling from near London, and my crazy accent is a Northern Irish accent that's been in England for a long time.
Yeah, there's something going on there.
My question is, I'm going back in time here from a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to really do the themes and the goals and the strategies.
Yeah.
And when I was getting into the detail, I realized I was getting possibly confused, because I seem to be getting strategies for strategies. And so, should I give you a concrete example?
Yeah, give me
would that help?
That'd be handy.
So I've sold some software to a local hospital, and I'm looking to sell to more hospitals. So my theme at the moment is lead generation and conversion.
Okay.
And so from that, I created an outcome goal of trying to get 3 more customers for my software.
Yeah.
And then a strategy for that is I want to do talks to hospitals. I want to suggest to them, this is all to do with clinical guidelines. And I would do talks to them about how they can improve their clinical guidelines. And through that, they then might be interested in the software I've made. So that's great. So I thought then put some strategies of getting talks at hospitals as a strategy, and I can put a number against that. Then how do I get into hospitals to do them talks? There's a number of approaches I can take to get my contacts and to get the approaches into the people I need to talk to.
Yeah.
It seemed like then I had strategies for getting the details to implement another strategy. And at some point it's going to go down to tasks, and in the middle it was getting a bit fuzzy. I was wondering if I was missing something, or if I'd gone too high level or too low level or something else.
No, not at all. You bring up a great nuance, actually, John. So when you're going through that process of deciding on your strategy is to do talks inside the hospitals, and then your SPI would be to book one workshop in the next 2 weeks, or Let's call it that, just as an example. Then it goes, okay, so if that's what I'm going to do, then what's the process I'm going to choose in order to make that up? Because you're right, there's many maybe other strategies you could use in order to execute on that SPI, but we're trying to just let's decide on it. So the process I'm going to choose is to call on my network make a list of all of my contacts that would have relationships with existing hospitals. That sounds like it could be a strategy, but it's actually a process because I'm putting it in as a date. Like I'm making it so specific that it's going to be in my calendar. So I'm going to make a list of all the people that I know that would possibly know someone in a hospital by January 20th. So you want to get from your SPI to the field of play as quickly as possible. And the way that we do that is
that makes perfect sense to me. Which is, I think, was the terminology I was missing there was process, because I knew that the things I wanted to do wasn't a single task.
Yeah.
It was a series of things, but you're right. It was a process. I'm going to try this process to achieve this strategy.
Exactly. Because remember what I say is you've got your one outcome, and then you could have 1 to 3 or 5 strategies and SPIs in order to make that happen. And then underneath each SPI, you're going to have multiple tasks, which is the process to get that SPI.
Right, that's excellent, Todd. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I hope they're treating you well down there in London area.
It's all cool. Very sunny and cold. It's all nice.
Good stuff. Well, cheers, buddy. Thanks for the question, too. Okay. Let's go with, where are you? Stephanie Roberts. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, Todd. Hi, can you hear me okay?
I sure can. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, so I came into this doing a podcast and creating products and potentially an online environment around supporting women who are, and some men, in emotionally abusive situations and trying to get out.
Yeah.
Big downer. So I just this week decided, it's just with my situation with my ex and my children, it's too intimidating for him, and it just doesn't feel good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made the decision to do a pivot to focus on mompreneurs and single moms, because there are a lot of things that I've been searching for out there that I can't find answers to. And I'm already...
Golf clap, because I have been doing this 90-day year thing with multiple times now, and one of probably the biggest group of people who struggle the most with stuff is single moms who are trying to be entrepreneurs, or they are entrepreneurs and they're single moms, and there aren't necessarily great tactical or process resources. I don't know what you're going to be doing for them, but
that's exactly it. Yeah.
So good.
So my strategy is, and I've already signed some people up, because I'm super plugged in now to the online entrepreneur environment, and I'm already a podcaster. It's very easy to start over, set up those interviews. So I've looked at some of the competition, so to speak. There really aren't nobody's going behind the scenes getting answers for, okay, how do you take care of the kids? How do you get the house clean? How do you do dinner, homework, all the tactical stuff, and carve out your day and still get it done and feel good?
Yeah.
So that's my strategy, is to interview those people, like maybe successful people, maybe also struggling people, and then I'm supposed to be writing an ebook.
Yeah.
So I was going to use those interviews for an ebook as well, and then try to see some patterns and all of that, and start creating some products and maybe an online, kind of support community, subscription community.
Yeah.
So I guess my big question is, do I just dive in and start start doing this? Is there something I'm missing? Because this is, there's overlap, but it's still different.
Well, I mean, it comes down to, like if you feel like you've validated it in a way that there is a need for it, and you feel sort of called to put this stuff out there. I mean, I know that there's something there, and and whether it's again, there's so many different ways that you can kind of go with this stuff. So, but do you dive in? What's the reticence with diving in? Like, why would you not dive in?
Exactly. No, that's my instinct, is to just, like, I've got momentum. I feel good about it. I actually feel like a huge weight has been lifted. I feel much more excited about this. I feel like there's a market, there's a need. And this was also something I was going to kind of grow into with the other, because it's a piece of the other thing anyway, finding solutions for moms and even online business solutions, because there are a lot of moms struggling with financial issues, financial abuse, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So my instinct is to just jump in, get it done. I already know how to do it, set it up. I know all the logistics, but yeah, I'm just asking, is there something else that I might be missing, I guess?
Yeah. No. Well, there is. There's going to be lots of things that we're missing. But you can't figure that stuff out until you get out there and start executing, right? And you don't know exactly what the market's going to want from you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're going to deliver it a different way than I would, because I have ideas as to exactly how I would do that. But that's because I would be bringing my competencies to it. And, so.
Well, I'd love to hear your ideas.
Well, at the end of the day, what I think, because when I think about even our own family, and we're not a family where we have a single parent and like a single mom with kids, but I'm a big systems person, right? And I think the one thing that's missing, because just from like running our household, I look at it. I mean, we use basically business terms inside of our house, and if Valerie is the chief executive officer of our home, then what are the systems that we have in place to ensure that we have a successful home? What I'm really surprised at is that someone hasn't caught on that there is a need in the market for processes and checklists in order to run a successful home. All of the different parts and components that a home is about, like, just like what you do with the personal paperwork that comes into your door, because essentially our homes are essentially dumping grounds. I mean, stuff comes in for a little while and then it transitions off into the dump or wherever it ends up going, the garbage place or whatever. But anyways, and I'm a big process and systems person because it alleviates the stress from our lives when we have a good process for things. And I'm just surprised at how there's a lack of it. Like, I mean, if I found a site, because I was literally just looking at this on the weekend, if I found a site that had a list of processes and checklists in order to be successful parents of children, and that could be, I would have bought the entire library of stuff, and we're already pretty good at it. And again, like, we've got resources and help that help us with that stuff, but that doesn't still mean that I don't think it can be optimized and in a way. And I mean, when I think, and my need isn't even as big of a need as single parents. So that's how I would think about doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, single parents are kind of under the umbrella. I'm just going for moms.
Yeah.
Mostly moms in general, but mompreneurs specifically, because I feel like you're charged with running your whole household plus running a business or starting a business.
Yeah.
But, I can't tell you how many times I've actually Googled. It's kind of the same as you. Like, I'm trying to find, like, these organizational specialists who can help me create a system for my home. I almost want to give somebody, like, here's some of my constraints. How can I best utilize the reality of the situation, and where can I make things more efficient?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's awesome.
You got something there? Make it happen.
All right. Thanks so much, Todd. I appreciate it.
Stephanie. Ciao.
Okay, take care.
Next up is, I don't want to butcher the name, but I am going to Maya Nistro or Nistro.
Yeah, hi Todd.
Hello, how did I do on the name?
Almost good. It's Maya Nestroy, so almost perfect.
All right.
Okay.
What can I do for you?
So I go straight to my cue. So I'm a sex coach, intimacy coach from Poland, living in Germany, in Berlin. So second time Berlin today. And I've managed already to establish myself as an expert on the Polish market, being on the media, being on the national radio or Newsweek, which is a kind of big deal for a sex coach.
Sure.
Yeah, but I have this impression I haven't squeezed the juice in terms of monetization.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it right now. Just, last 2 weeks I'm in the program. I'm working with strategies. And, for example, it means my list, grew by 50%, like 500 new high-quality subscribers are in.
Wow.
So I love it. But there's a huge but. They're all Polish clients. And even though if the pricing is not the biggest problem, because I could scale up, having, more clients in the online programs and in online courses, even at low price, then the problem is with Polish clients, the payment methods.
Yes.
They have to pay, they have different currency. They use Polish zloty, not euro, as I use. And they had to pay me with PayPal. And they are not so used to use PayPal, especially my ideal clients, because they are women in their 40s.
Yeah.
And and the funny stuff is I live in Germany, so I use the PayPal without any problems, but I tried to pay her program from Polish bank account, and it was like huge deal. It was like I was trying to do 10 different stuff, and also PayPal is hard to connect with bank accounts in Poland.
Okay.
So it's possible, but it's some kind of block in my model. So my idea was, okay, maybe I should hit to German market, but doing it still in English. But, I have no connections here. So my question is, with whom should I partner with? Or maybe how should I manage the whole process? Or how maybe I should, dive deeper in Poland, but finding the solution because of this payment methods and also this problem that the Polish clients feel like they pay German firm. What is not it's not really the nice impression. So what would be your recommendation?
So are you familiar with a lady by the name of Coco Berlin?
No.
Okay. She was in one of my past programs as well. I'm trying to find her on Facebook because I know we're friends actually. And she might have changed her last name or something. But she does like erotic dance or yoga for women. She has a very, very, very good business. But she would be someone to reach out to because that market is your market, and she might be someone that could be perfect for you. I'm trying to track her down, actually. Anyways, if you reached out to her, I'll find her, and then I'll ping you in Facebook, okay?
Yeah, it would be great. Also, thanks for my accountability partner. It was a great match. It's also from Germany, and it's a gynecologist. So it's like perfect match because we have so much in common. And also we want to hit to English market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you want to, because you have managed to work yourself into a model where, they can want all your stuff, but if they can't pay for it, that's a problem. Yeah. I have a good friend of mine who's down in the Mexico market, and he actually does very similar stuff as me. He's a former pro soccer player from Europe. Great history, or great level of experience. But in the Mexico marketplace, again, it's the same thing. They don't pay for things online the way that, we take for granted in the Western world. a lot of it is they go to what they do in order to pay for things online is they actually go to a gas station to get a voucher, and then they use the voucher to pay for something online.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, so yeah, and unless you change your model to where, I mean, I don't even know, do people use checks that much over in checking accounts over in Poland?
No, mostly they just do a bank, transfers.
Yeah.
Bank transfers, just normal. So not so often, and they are not so willing to use credit cards. Many of them don't have them.
Yeah.
So the PayPal, I thought is the best solution, but it's the best solution, but not for my target group.
Yeah, no.
Because, it's like the younger audience is using PayPal.
This is where you'd have to set up a back end part of your process that would be able to try and, get those bank transfers, make it as simple and easy as possible to make that happen. But I mean, again, at the end of the day, you're not in control of that process that much because, you're not the bank. So it would basically just, educating people on the process and steps they need to do in order to, execute the transfer. But at the end of the day, unless that Polish market changes, you might be better served going after, and by the way, the German market's a great market to be in too, as well. So, yeah. So, I mean, think about, okay, who has your customers already in the German marketplace? You already have, I mean, it's not like, it would be different if you had no experience whatsoever and you've never developed or known how to develop an audience. Like if someone like you came to me and, from, another market, even just another market in general. And when in the course of our discussion, I found out that, they know how to build a list they built a list of 25,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know that I'm dealing with someone who's at a different level of business than someone who would be just sort of starting out, right? So I'm going to be paying attention to you because I know that you execute. Because at the end of the day, that's what I pay attention to. I don't care about the promise. I care about what's your ability to execute. And so how I can figure that out is your past performance. So if I know, this person's actually already done this in the Polish marketplace, okay, great. I'm going to give that person more of my, time or the opportunity to possibly, partner together or joint venture or whatever that thing could be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because it struck me right now, should I search now for partners in the sense of joint venture on the German market, or maybe I should just search a partner for my Polish market audience and just, leave it there, like a joint venture, that somebody just sell it for me and I'm just concentrating myself on the German market and searching more strategic partners?
Up to you. I mean, if you think that someone in the Polish market can actually execute on getting you revenue, then go ahead and do that. But if not, then start getting into a business environment where that's going to be conducive to you getting the dollar in the end.
Okay, yeah, of course, because it's still online business what I'm doing, because I'm counseling per Skype, but the most important product for me is online course, and even though, I have webinars, everything great, and then it's like PayPal, and only 10% of audience has PayPal, it's like shooting myself. Yeah.
Okay.
And I realized that, just like a couple of weeks behind after 1 year, doing pretty much great work. Yeah.
Great. Well,
okay.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Okay. Kyle Skinner. Hello, Kyle? Oh, doesn't look like Kyle's there. Let's go with Juliet. You're next up.
Hi, Todd. Can you hear me?
I sure can. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Okay, so my question is that I noticed that my business model is not super great, and I'm trying to shift it, but I need some guidance.
Okay.
So I'm in a service-based business. I help people. I'm an integrated body worker, so I help people get out of pain by working with their alignment.
Yeah.
So the awesome thing is that people get better in a short period of time, and then they don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
The bad thing is that I'm constantly needing new clients.
Yeah.
So I do have a referral network with my acupuncturist, and so I've started to reach out to other people to try to increase my referral base. But what I'm thinking is that, so I'm also a massage therapist and a yoga instructor, so I'm thinking that I need to have like a certain amount of regular yoga privates, like a week or a month, whatever, and then also have some sort of online offering. So I created this 7-day challenge where it's a video and an email that gets sent to your inbox every day, and it's just like bare bones of what my work is like, so it's a different price point than seeing me in my office.
Yeah.
And then I thought that I could use that. So right now that offering is $11, which is clearly priced way too low, but I'm not super great at all that stuff. But then I thought that I could leverage that 7-day challenge and use it to launch like a webinar or a video series, so I could target different parts of the body. So say like one webinar or video series is for neck pain, or this is for back pain or shoulder pain, whatever. So is that like something good to do, or am I just kind of all over the place?
Well, what you're doing though is it's the lens that you're looking at your solutions through. So what you do is you take a look at your business and you're like, okay, so I'm doing this integrative stuff, but the only problem is as soon as they're done and we solve it, they're out the door. So then you ask yourself, okay, what else could I do to keep clients or something like that? And so, but
well, I do have like monthly maintenance with some of them, and then some of them just they like me, so they come see me like every other week.
No, I know, but here's what there's a key question that you say, and I would say probably 80% of people in a service-based business always do, which is, and then it ends up creating handcuffs for them in their business, and it's this question: what can I do? What can I do personally? So how can I sell more of my time to get people to come back, as opposed to how can I build a business with services sitting inside of it that keeps people in it.
Yeah.
And so you go from being the person who's one of those little circles inside a business, which is actually the entire circle. You go from peeling yourself away from being the person who's offering the service to the person who's creating a service, who's the person who's creating an ecosystem with services sitting inside of it that solves these problems that people have been coming to you personally for. But now you bring in a yoga person, you bring in an acupuncturist, you bring in a chiropractor, you bring in a massage therapist, you bring in a, whatever else, a nutritionist, and now your business serves that stuff. Like, are you getting that that's how business models are created? It's by asking the right question.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that, because I really love what I do. Like, my work with my clients is like everything to me.
Yeah. I get it.
So,
I get it. But just know what you're getting yourself into then. Because people do that. Because people will compare, people will compare themselves to, let's say, we'll just use the fitness industry. People will compare themselves who they're a local fitness professional that works with clients one-on-one, and they might do some group stuff as well. But then they also look at, say, Jillian Michaels, and she's on The Biggest Loser, and she has this online platform where she's doing, $2 million a month in her membership. She's got supplements that she has as well. But how much personal training time does Jillian do now? Well, it's near zero.
Yeah.
She just serves the people in a very different way. So I'm just saying, just know the business that you're in and the limitations that it has based on that. So I'm fine. Hey, I've got friends that are, in businesses where they love serving their clients, and that's the only thing that they would ever want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that by any stretch, but trying to add more to your plate by adding more services is only going to keep you on a hamster wheel and tire you out. Now, I like the idea of you leveraging your knowledge by doing some sort of, video lesson stuff, but.
Okay. So then I mean, where do I go from where I am now? Like, because at this point in my practice, I don't have the funds to hire people underneath me.
Yeah.
So, and I do enjoy what it is, like the physical practice of what I'm doing. So, if I'm going to be on a hamster wheel, how do I get from where I am now to like a more sane place?
Honestly, if you're at a place where you're on a hamster wheel and you're wanted in the marketplace, then the fees go up, and that's one of the ways. That's one of the ways to do it.
I need to increase my prices.
What's that?
So I need to increase my prices?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be one. That's one way. Another way would be for you to go out and get, if you don't have the dollars right now to hire people, then now is the time to start looking for, it could be a bank loan or something like that. Because, again, money is the resource that's lacking or stopping or preventing you from, trying to scale this thing up or make the business look slightly different than what it is right now.
Okay. So I either need more money or I'm just stay where I am right now?
You need more money or you need more time. So how could you get more time? You could get more time by bringing in interns, possibly, outside people who could come inside your business because they would love to learn what you do someday. So that's how now you're buying time as a resource.
Mm-hmm. So interns that would like to learn what I'm doing, and then what would they do for me, like social media or something like that?
Just taking whatever off of your plate that takes up some of your time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so should I not try to do this like video series?
No, I'm not saying you don't do that. If you already have the resource, available, or you've already done it, then maybe you do that. Because that is a way that you could start to peel yourself away from, the time per dollar thing.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not discouraging you against that. That's an evolution of your business. You could do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Juliet. Well, again, it's 6:00 on the hour, so we've gone for 2 hours. I know there's still lots of hands up. If you want to ping me in Facebook with your questions, go ahead. But I need to do dinner with the family, so I need to go. But thank you, because I know there's still quite a few questions. Laurel, Samantha, Wendy, Molly, Joe, Jennifer, Andrew. I've still got questions, so I want to make sure that I help out as many people as I can, and just didn't get to everybody. But thank you. I hope you got a lot of value from today. Let me know in the question if this was good. Thank you. You're welcome. Everybody, great call. Thanks, Alish, Diane, Andrew. Cheers, everybody. Have an awesome night, and I will see you in the community. And I have a couple of new things I'm going to roll out tomorrow that's going to help with people's strategies, and people can collaborate on some stuff. But ciao for now. Bye-bye.